Welcome, everyone. I'm Peter Bowden. In this episode, I am honored to be speaking with Mike O'Sullivan, minister of the Unitarian Church Cork, Ireland. I have had the opportunity to get to know Mike really across, through the internet via Mike's video content, his participation in my training programs, and really mostly asynchronous communication. We have never spoken before live as we are here. So, Mike, welcome. How are you?
Not too bad, Peter. How are you? It's afternoon here. It's early morning where you are, I
Yeah,
understand.
I'm in the Boston, Massachusetts area, so a little earlier for me. Now, what we'll be talking about today is some video and ministry strategy, things related to communication. We'll see where it goes. I really want to first talk to you, Mike, about your work with video and ministry over the course of recent years. But first, can I just say, it is so great to see you. I feel like it's really interesting that we're in this world where you can be watching my video content, I'm watching your video content in response to these things. We have written messages, and I feel like I know you. I mean, I do know you. It's just a different way that we've gotten to be acquainted. Um, so, do you want to tell people a little bit about just how we got connected and kind of like the start of our journey and learning together?
Yeah, it seems like a lifetime ago because it was a different world. It was the world of the pandemic. And same as every other church, I was forced, rushed, and harried into broadcasting online. Hadn't a clue what I was doing. Actually, the first service I did was in March 2020, and it consisted of a camera propped up on a pile of books. That was it. Um, and everybody was doing it, but we had everybody was offering advice.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was capitalizing on this thing. And I happened to come across you, and the fact that you were a Unitarian, okay, interest sparked point number one. You were talking specifically about my church. Point number two, but then the enthusiasm, your enthusiasm, uh, your passion, your absolute passion that this can work, this can get us through the pandemic. This is the bridge to a better way of doing church. Yeah, I was hooked. Hooked, Peter.
Excellent.
Hooked like
Well, it's been fabulous to get to know you through. Then it was called Video Ministry Academy. Now I'm doing Video Message Academy for congregations. I love helping our congregations, our leaders use the tools of our time just to advance the work, the mission, everything we're doing. And so um, we have so many tools. Video is one of them. I love video because it's a way that we can show up online and engage with people, bring our full selves online. So that's one of the reasons why I'm like video, video. I also worked for years as a television producer, which is why when the pandemic hit, I'm like, all right, how are we going to do this? How are we going to continue to serve our congregations to accomplish everything that we're trying to do? Um, that has this powerful tool. So, can you tell us a little bit about over over the course of the pandemic when we started having to do things online? Can you tell us a little bit about the different ways that you used video and moving? Just think about then and the evolution to where we are today. Just some of the different things you've tried, experiments. One of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you specifically is because I see you as someone who is working to continually try new things, improving what you're doing, like just progressively over time, just like improving, trying new things, experimenting, and I think that mindset is such a huge key to success. So tell us a little bit about the journey with just the way you've been using video and engaging in that way.
the journey was forced, okay, by events of COVID 19. And I was a reluctant job I had prior to entering ministry was in radio. I was a radio broadcaster, which I loved, but I loved the fact that nobody could see me. That was fantastic. I loved that. And then I was forced, okay, to face a camera, okay, which I never thought of as a part of my ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Early attempts were rough and ready. Like in the first couple of weeks, the first couple of months, even it was just okay. The message has to get out there, so it doesn't really matter. We'll just get the message out there. But then it was rough and ready. The pictures were framed wrong. The backgrounds were wrong. The sound was terrible,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all evolved now. I think to a better sound quality, a better picture quality of in the service, especially to word the service, to introduce the service, to make sure that those watching online are a part of the service. Okay, that's very important because when you're in the church and the church is fully with people there, okay, you are aiming at the people in the building and you're very aware of a camera there, but it's easy to just ignore that on the other side of that
Mm-hmm.
camera, there are people who have tuned in to be a part of your service. They're watching, but it's not the same as they're watching TV. They want to engage with the service. They want to engage with the message. They want to engage with the church. So it's been a real journey to kind of find the wording for that too, and to actually kind of mold a service to a double audience, if you want, you know?
So there are things that you've done, experiment with over the past few years I want to get touch on. But with regard to how you lead a service with the cameras connecting you to people online, what
Yeah.
are the things, if you were to speak to some colleagues, others, whether clergy or those who aren't, and to say, all right, if you want to engage people in your online services, those on the other side of the camera, and not just lead a service, and it's like they're just like observing from the back, but really engage them, draw them in. Here are some things you can do. These are things we're doing. What are practices or things that you do in your congregation?
Okay, well, we have a service sheet for Sunday, which has our chalice lighting words and the various prayers that we might say, whatever the readings and so on. We make that available online.
Yeah.
Okay, so people can actually have that on their screen while they're watching the service as well. So if they wish to join in or just read along, it actually makes them a part of the service
Right. So they
rather
have
than just,
order of service.
yeah. And the main thing as well is to address the people online. Okay, just once or twice, just address them. And we all have training to look at the people in the pews,
Mm-hmm.
okay, to engage with people, to change, look over there, look over here. Okay, once in a while, glance towards the camera,
Mm-hmm.
speak to those watching. It's important.
Yeah. I think that practice of verbally acknowledging the people
Yes.
who are online is fantastic, and something that is hard across all areas of working with video, especially if you have a larger audience, is the eye contact to the camera. It's
Yeah.
I've had conversations with colleagues about should we be turning the camera around and showing all the people in the congregation to those online and waving and doing things, and had some debates about like, all right, well, we don't want to disrupt the worship service, and
No.
trying to like show these people to the others and back and forth. And I think where I've landed is very much what you're doing, which is acknowledging the people online
Yes.
and making eye contact with the people online. Those two things, fantastic.
Yeah.
And
Like our camera, for example, is is off is off to the side of the pulpit
mhm,
rather than right ahead. It's off to the side of the pulpit. So when I make contact with the camera, it is very obvious that that's what I'm doing.
mhm.
I am now, yeah,
It's not like you're looking at the full congregation and there's a camera up in the back and you kind of look at it, but the people can't tell. It's like a very clear. I'm looking at you, the
yes,
viewer
yes,
online. That's nice.
yes,
And also, I'll
yes.
put in the description of this episode a link to your congregation, if that's all right.
That's
And some of your channels. A lot of the video that you've done has been on Facebook. So at
yeah.
facebook.com/Unitarian Church Cork. Uh, One of the things that really stood out for me when you got involved with video in the early part of the pandemic is really practicing showing up online and being a presence, a pastoral presence in people's lives. You started a series of nightly prayers,
Yep,
which
yep,
I think that was the first one, I believe was right around March 23rd, 2020. So very, very soon. And looking at I remember seeing some of them. We're a little out of sync time wise. Uh, but on that page, there's a lot of those nightly prayer videos. And so a question I have
oh,
is, what has been
100.
the response to that? Because I've heard stories of clergy not being sure if anyone is watching their video content or what impact it's having, and there's doubt. And then you hear one story of someone who's like, I felt like you were there with me. So tell us some of the like your experience from that practice.
It reached people. It helped people.
Well, tell us, what did you do? What was the practice? Like, if someone who hasn't seen these videos, what were you doing?
I I I actually would have a little talk, um, a relevant talk about hope, about wellness, a whole load of things, and then a reflection, a prayer, and it worked. But it was hard work because I was doing like 3 or 4 of those a week.
Hmm.
And the pressure to be original, to come up with new things, was hard. But it did work. The viewership was extremely good. We have kept a lot of those people, but we've
Hmm.
lost a lot of them too because
Right.
that's the nature of just life. Apart from church, apart from mission, it's just life. People come and go, and that's it.
Hmm. Yeah.
But it was a pastoral thing.
Right.
And I suppose the big danger with church, with video ministry or
Hmm.
with in person ministry, and it's the big thing I hear, is it's all about numbers.
Right.
Like, it's about numbers. So the more numbers I have, the more successful I am. Well, that's not necessarily the case, to be honest with you. If you're concentrating purely on numbers, then you're kind of missing the point, I think, to
Hmm.
be honest with you. You know, um, it's about reaching people. It's about saying we are a church, we are a movement, and here's what we have to offer.
Hmm.
And then you leave it there. And it's up to people then to join you for the journey. They may stay for a long journey, they may only stay for 5 minutes.
Yeah. I want to talk about metrics in a moment. One of the things that I think you modeled through that series is, and part of this was out of necessity at the time, because it was when you started that, we weren't gathering, couldn't
No,
gather on
yes,
site in your for services, is
yeah,
that you're actually doing ministry through the video. You are being a pastoral presence through the video, offering people hope, insight, wisdom, uh, creating space for them to reflect through the
yeah,
video, which is very different from, and what it absolutely is work. I mean, it's like it might be shorter than a service, but it takes a lot of effort to think, how am I going to engage? What's the
yeah,
focus? What's the point? What are we trying to accomplish or help people with? Uh, a lot of video content, now that we're back, we're back on site, are right now at the time of this recording, we're in our buildings. A lot of
yeah,
doing online and offline. There's a lot of shift to announcements, like trying to come to church, do this, participate, which is very different from actually doing ministry through the video. Like, I'm not on, you weren't online in those, or in that series, trying to convince people to come and participate. You were actually offering them something that they could participate in right there through that video
yeah,
content, which is a
yeah,
huge distinction. And I know one of the things I'm wrestling with, I'll be honest, is it takes time to lead congregational life locally on site in your building. It takes a whole nother set of energy to make content and engage with people online. But right now we're at the point where there's some people who never ever engage with us if we don't engage with them first where they are, which is online. And
yeah,
so many of our congregations are a size where there isn't a lot of capacity or energy to do all of that if it's just, say, a solo minister trying to make everything happen. Which, so that's we have so much potential. So I think that's one thing I'm struggling with. Like, how do you do it all, and figuring out, like, what's the smart
I
balance
know.
of,
Yeah.
we need to lead services. It would be good to have an online presence. What does that look like? What can that look like?
It's hard. And the personal in person thing has to come first, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the video ministry is a way of attracting people to the personal worship. It's a tentative way of, it's like a dating site, I suppose, really, isn't it?
I talk about it all the time. I'll tell congregants, if you think about it, like, if someone's looking for a congregation, a religious community, a church, they're trying to decide, is it a match for me? Is this one a match for me? And so what do? Do you
Yeah.
just go off, go to the building and just like dive in? Not today. It's, I'm going to do
No.
my online research. Who are these
Yeah.
people? Do I have an affinity for who the leader, the minister? Can I see, like, am I going to enjoy going to services with this person leading them? I think that's a huge thing. I talked about that recently, uh, about why it's important to have a meet the minister video on your website. And right now on your at this time, you have a welcome video on the homepage of your website.
We
Land
do.
on the UnitarianChurchCork.com website, and there you are welcoming people to the website and your congregation,
Yeah,
which
and
I think is, yeah, I love that, because I just know that
it's a
when people
short
are
video.
landing on the websites there, it's like, all right, what's this all about? And oh, here's the minister, or it could be
Yeah,
someone else, but yeah.
yeah. And it's a short video too. That is the secret. That is one thing I think that you taught me,
Hmm.
that you can do a video, the minister welcoming people to the website, but the minister doesn't have to talk for 10 minutes.
Right. So what was
The
that
minister
video?
can
That
say
was a
something in
a
45 seconds.
$50,000 production to make that video. What was that? What did that entail to make that video for your website?
Um,
How'd you
a
make? Yeah,
script,
yeah, a script.
a camera,
What kind of camera did you use?
a phone, a
A
phone,
smartphone.
a
Lovely.
smartphone with a plug-in microphone for a better sound,
Yeah.
a script, and about 100 takes with
Yeah.
lots of
I think.
swearing.
Yeah, I think that one thing that I'm finding is people underestimating how many takes other people do when they're
Yes,
making their content. It's not like when you look at a video, short video online, and it's like, oh, it's short. It's, there's great energy, passion. It hits the key points, and it's like 2 minutes. It's like, wow, that's fantastic. And then you go to do the same thing, and you're like, oh, this is brutal. But it doesn't
yeah.
say on the video you were inspired by, this took 200 takes
Yes,
in
it
five
did. Yeah,
days.
yeah, yeah,
One
yeah.
of the things that I've started to do, there's a congregation, a Unitarian Universalist congregation very close to me, so I'm starting to help them produce some video content, and because I decided, like, ooh, I need to start doing more to experiment with video and learn myself, kind of test experiments. We're doing a little bit of that. What I've started doing is we have script out what we want to talk about, make each section be like, have an outline where it's, all right, in this little basically paragraph we're going to cover these points, and you write out what the minister is going to say, uh, so that you've done the wordsmithing, but then we film that first part. Like, you look at your notes and you film that, like, 5 sentences, and then review the next part, and just from the outline and memory deliver again. Today there's a lot of videos where people are talking and there's just these little jump cuts, like they're talking and there's a clear edit line, but we're
Yes,
totally used to that. So to all who have experienced the frustration with, like, trying to get it perfect, I'm not even trying to aim for a single continuous 2 minute video anymore. I'm like, let's get paragraph one, let's get paragraph two, and then you just edit those
edited. Yeah,
together. So, like, so then it's very different doing, oh, let's do the opening 3 times, then the next part 2 times, and then take all those and, like, all right, of these, which are we going to use? Put that together.
yeah.
So yeah, it's good to disclose the, what, I don't want to say pain that goes into making video, but it's not easy. I mean, it's very straightforward in concept. Oh, you have a phone, some camera, turning it on, record, presto. But
Yeah, it is extremely frustrating, and it takes an awful amount of work.
now, um, one of the things that I saw that you've been experimenting with is a series, Unitarianism from A to Z. Can you tell us
Yes.
a little bit about that series? Why you decided to do that? And then I also want to make a
Um,
note that, wait, I want to make a note that I wanted to come back to metrics, and there's one other thing, I forget what it was. All right, yeah, tell us about that series.
well, it dawned on me that a good way to explain what we are about would be to use the alphabet. Okay, so use the alphabet to highlight our values, our
Hmm.
principles, what we are about. So each episode is on one letter. So the first one was about the letter A,
Hmm.
okay, which would be for affirming. Okay, so it's explaining what that means, what it means to be an affirming church,
Hmm.
why we are an affirming church, what it means to be an affirming person.
Right.
It's a way of educating those who are unaware of us.
Hmm.
But for those of us who are in the church, it's a reminder, it's a refresher. It's a it's like, yes, I am a part of an affirming church, you know. Oh, it's gone through
Well,
that.
that
You're on the letter J, I think, at the moment.
right.
Yeah,
I haven't gotten all the way up to J yet, but I love the first part of the series. The
yeah,
and that I think that content can be really valuable for the people. You were saying a moment ago, or we were saying that it's like online dating. Someone's trying to find a
yeah,
congregation. So when
yes,
they come like, so I heard about this congregation, this church, and I find that people these days with our smartphones go into quick research mode. Like, I'm curious, I'll do some research. So they're on their computer,
yeah,
and it's like,
yeah,
oh, what is this place? And it's like, oh, and then boom, affirming, letter B, letter C, letter D. They've got all this
yeah,
content that highlights
yeah,
key things so that just front and center, you're taking some of the most wonderful things about your congregation and
yes,
Unitarianism at large and speaking to it, which also not only educates people, uh, it showcases, I think, you're caring enough to be present online and doing that education and understanding that people are in people are trying to research and make a good decision for their lives, for themselves online. I think that's a challenge that all of our congregations are facing now, in that the information that people would previously, pre-internet and pre-pandemic and all this digital culture, that people would have gotten from visiting on site, walking around, going to a welcome program, an introduction to this, a talk, a conversation with the minister or someone else, all that introductory content that we used to do through on site programming. People want that content or need that content in advance as part of your online dating profile, right? I mean, just like helping them kind of pre-qualify themselves for membership. Like, are you in the right place? What do I want to know? And you have all that fantastic content.
yeah. And you have a global audience, basically, a global audience.
Yeah, tell us about your experience in terms of like people tuning into your content, hearing about, just based on your understanding,
Yeah,
how.
it would be mainly Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is then actually the second highest metric group after Ireland is actually the USA,
Mm-hmm.
and then the UK,
Hmm.
and then for some bizarre reason, Australia.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And we have one who is in Hong Kong as well. We have one person that watches weekly from Hong Kong,
Mm-hmm.
which is absolutely fascinating to think that somebody
Mm-hmm.
like is there in their house, in their home in Hong Kong,
Yeah.
watching Sunday service from Cork.
Yeah, I've had some fantastic conversations with staff teams in some congregations that have very strong online presences. Just
Yeah.
doing online services, but also very active with social media. And there are people who, through that content, have found them,
Yes.
at a great distance, and been like, I have an affinity for your congregation, for your leaders, the way you lead worship, and I'm in a different country or I'm in a different state in the United States, which has led to interesting conversations on, what are you a local church that happens to have an experience that's available anywhere on the planet through the internet, but you're just local? Like, you're welcome to join us online, but we're a local congregation and we only want local members. Or now there's this possibility, like, do you have members that are, around the world? And
Yeah.
what does it look
Yeah.
like to be a member? How do you, I think that's a real decision for congregations. Like, what level of online experience do we want to create? And do we want to be, once upon a time within the United States, where I am, we have the Church of the Larger Fellowship, which was this, it's a congregation without walls, serves people who are not
Yes.
someplace where they have a congregation. We've come to the I remember talking to one of their leaders a number of years ago. This is, after the internet and Facebook, YouTube, and I said, we're reaching a point now with the videos developing and all these tools. Any congregation could choose to serve people anywhere on the planet.
Yeah.
And so, but it's like, what's your mission? Do you actually want to do that? And so that's going a little tangent, but I think it's interesting to think that, well, I have so many
But
stories
the
as I'm
dynamic
talking to.
is all changed now because um, the change has been in what does it mean now to attend church?
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to be a part of a church? Because the old model was okay, that you got up on a Sunday morning, you piled in to the car, you drove to the building, and you attended church. It's changed now.
Mm-hmm.
It's changed. What does it mean to attend church? What does it mean to be a member of a church? And it's a challenging, I suppose, conversation that all of us will have to have
Mm-hmm.
around membership.
Yes.
Okay. The old model was you turned up on a Sunday and you were a member. Okay. But at some stage, we are all going to have a big think about what membership is, what defines a member of a church now.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Which I've been thinking more lately about, if we're trying to, like, if we're striving to have people participate in bringing about the change in the world, our communities, our cities, and also, in each of us, like, for people to participate in that effort, like, that's a very different goal. Like, like, if we want help, if we want to help people, say, talking about social justice, engage with the justice issues of our time, specifically, these issues, well, we can do efforts to get not just our members in the building, but the community involved in
yeah,
those. And you can measure how many people are participating in those efforts, getting back to metrics. If we prioritize, like, we want everyone who is interested to be able to participate in some kind of community group, whether it's exploring spiritual religious issues, as, say, we do in our congregation, or speaking to other issues. We want to help everyone, make sure nobody is lonely and isolated, that we're all in this together. Everyone has a community experience. If they want one, we could work on that and we can measure that. Membership alone, it's like, all right, a lot of congregations where I am, their membership is like, all right, you need to sign our membership book and make a donation of record within a certain time frame. And it's like, if that's all we're measuring and not other aspects of how are people engaged with and participating in the life, the ministry, the work of our congregation, whatever that
yeah,
looks like.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, there's so many questions around metrics. And you were speaking to, like, viewership. That's one little metric. These days, like, I'll talk to colleagues about what kind of views should we be expecting I'm like, well, it's very hard because there's a big difference between like there's views where like a 3 second view just because somebody saw a video doesn't mean they watched the video. And if you look at YouTube statistics, say most videos it's like, oh, so many people watch the first few seconds, then within 3 seconds it drops, then after 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and then maybe depending on the content, 30% of the people or 10% make it to the end. If you're getting 30% of people watching your whole video, you're doing really well. But so there's like that kind of metric. I like to think about for all the online content we're producing, how do we share content in a way that inspires participation in something that we're working on as a congregation, that we can actually measure people taking next steps and participating in a real way. So like if we put so much effort into online video content, like talking about service themes or justice efforts, whatever it is, it's nice to do it in a way where there's a corresponding opportunity that people are going to get involved in, so we can start making the connection between like when we engage with people online around these issues, and we have a corresponding event for them to participate in, we can count, you kind of look at that. It's tricky though. It's very tricky. And with busy leaders, it's hard.
I think one of the most important things is that if you're having an online presence, if you're kind of doing videos, if you've got Facebook or Instagram, that has to be matched by an equally vibrant website.
Tell us more about that. I agree with you, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a minister that's bright, exciting, engaging, okay,
like you, Mike, yes.
No. But the services are good, and the video content is good, and the Twitter page is good, and the Instagram is good, and it's creative, and then a snapshot is all you really offer there. And so the person thinks, yeah, okay, that's good, really enjoyable. I have to go and check their website, because everybody heads to a website now. Everybody. So they head to your website, and it's dull, and it's boring, and it's matter of fact, and it doesn't reflect the online presence you have. So the two have to marry as one, I think. I think that's very important. The two have to marry as one.
The website really can be a gap in the process of people. If you think about like you're putting social media content out online into people's feed, so they're looking at social media, you appear in their feed, and then they go based on that to your website. It's very easy for people to be there, and some websites are so overwhelming with text content and not cohesive, and also not clear. Like if you want to get involved, how do you get involved? Like just come anytime. I have a preference to really take charge of the experience that we're offering newcomers, saying, hey, if you want to get involved, come at this time, do this, meet these people, trying to really give a clear path. One of the things that makes me, it's a pet peeve, not pet peeve, something that I'm very mindful of is congregational websites where when you land on the website, there are constantly links sending people away to other websites, like go learn about the chalice, go learn about Unitarian history here and there. And it's like you do all this work to get people like from their social media experience to your website where you can actually get them involved in the congregation. But before they get you're like, now why don't you, but go away.
Yes. Yeah.
It's challenging. So we talked a little bit about metrics. We talk about online dating in terms of helping people find their spiritual or religious home. Any other insights, or as we start moving towards wrapping up, other insights, tips, pitfalls to avoid that you want to share with
Yeah,
our yeah.
a temptation, I think, when you're using video,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a natural temptation, it's very natural and it's very understandable, is that you want it to be perfect
Mm-hmm.
and professional,
Yep.
but the danger is that you start acting. You start acting. You
Mm-hmm.
take on this actor's personality, this online persona, okay, which doesn't match up to who you really are at all. So it is about practicing. It's about getting comfortable, I think,
Mm-hmm.
with the camera. It's just about getting really comfortable so that with the script, even, um, a part of you comes out. You know, that's important, I think. You
Yeah.
know, keep it natural as well. Like, it has to be professional, it has to be nice, it has to be framed nicely, you have to be dressed nicely, but really try to ignore the camera in a sense, you know. Normally, the way I do it, anyway, just ignore the camera, just forget about it.
And really try to be yourself.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that's
yeah,
a
yeah.
that's a hard thing to do because I think for me, yeah, I know I've been working with video for quite a while now, and I get like the nerves that come in. It's like guest speaking almost. You know, like that if you're going to be speaking in front of an audience, you can be speaking your entire life, public speaking, and you can still get nervous
Oh, yeah,
and feel
yeah,
things. And when you're filming something, it's not exactly the same as that, but there's some similarity in that there's this pressure situation. You are speaking, you are addressing someone, um, and so you want to get it right. You want to look good. I think the point you made about acting is important because uh, if if someone has not made much video content, they have a lot when they're starting to make their first like the first social media video or the first video that's going to be on their website welcoming people. If it's the only video content they have, there I think I've just from coaching some leaders, there's so much pressure on that content that
yes,
ruins that content.
yeah,
Whereas you say like, all right, just make this video like it's going to be one of 100 pieces of video that you produce over the next however many years, you know,
yeah.
and
Oh,
just start. Don't like it's not that this is your video. It's like no, it's just a video. It's just a video. There's going to be more, and you know, and just lower the pressure. There's you know, it's so easy to create content in terms of just like technically we can just create content in a snap. But boy, if you haven't been doing it, it's challenging.
a
I
secret that
think.
we
Do you feel any
don't.
like when you're going to record a new video? Do you get nervous? Do you like what's your experience like? I used to be
I
very very shy all the way up until my 20s. So there's a little part of me that's like the nerves. I've pushed over that. I've evolved, but I still feel it sometimes.
I always okay have it or that when I'm recording,
Hmm.
I can't see myself.
Okay.
Okay, I'm chatting to you and it's a split screen. Okay, I can see me and it's very off-putting.
Yeah.
Uh, so when I'm recording services as well, the camera screen is actually purposely turned away from me so I cannot see
Mm-hmm.
me.
Yeah.
That's a big help for me personally. Um, and I was a broadcaster for many years, and broadcasting to hundreds of thousands of people on a daily basis. But an early trick I was told was to imagine, okay, that you're locked in this room with a microphone, CD player, music, whatever. Imagine that you're talking to just one person.
Yeah.
Okay, so actually pick somebody and talk to that person. It's an old radio trick. Okay, it's an old radio trick. But that can work too for
Mm-hmm.
video. Okay, so just imagine that you're recording this for one particular person, a person that you know very well. Okay, so just imagine, yes, I am recording this video for X, and X is going to be the only person that will see it.
Right.
And it just relaxes you down. It just makes you a bit more confident. Yeah.
I think that's a great tip, and it
Yeah.
speaks to the fact that when you're making content, video content that's a little bit more oriented towards, say, sharing on social media, like not worship services, but like other content to engage with your
Yes.
community, that when people are viewing that content, it's generally one person looking at a screen
And
at
they have
you.
to feel that you're talking to them.
Right.
They
So it's
have
a
to
very
feel
different mode
from
producing
service.
content for people
Yes.
online outside
Yes.
of the worship service,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's a one-on-one
Yes.
experience that we're creating versus
Yes.
you're watching a talk or participating in a group worship experience.
Yes. Because when a person is engaging with the service online, they're very much aware that it's a group activity.
Hmm.
Uh, They're very much aware that the minister has a congregation.
Right.
Okay, so it's accepted, like I am part of group activity. When they're watching other content online, they're watching it by themselves. And as far as they are aware, okay, they are the only person watching that content
Hmm.
at that particular time.
Right. Completely different experience. And I think one
Totally.
of our greatest opportunities, that there's like the ability to have almost, to show up in people's lives like um, a friend, a guide, a mentor, a source of hope or inspiration, but in a more one-on-one,
Yeah, yeah.
way, which is, I think it's very powerful. Now, I think we should transition to the final question, just perhaps the
Right.
most important question, which is when am I coming to Ireland? That's what this is all about. I'm working on building my international community, so that when my wife Amy and I, Reverend Amy Frieden and I, and perhaps our daughter, if she's available, are traveling the world. We have good friends and colleagues to visit. So
You're
I want
welcome to
to.
call anytime.
Fantastic. So
You can make a video while you're here as well.
we'll do it. So I want to thank you for taking the time to
It's been a
share
pleasure.
some of your experience with our community and others online who are joining us. And I'm just grateful for all that you do in your congregation, in the work of your congregation. So it's been a pleasure talking to you face to face, live for the first time ever. Amazing. It's
Yeah,
great to be here
okay,
with you,
thank
Mike.
you. It's been a pleasure here as well. A real
All
pleasure.
right. And this, perhaps we'll have to pick it up again sometime after you get to Z.
Okay.